It is 6:32 on October the 9th. We're calling the regular meeting of the Royal Oak Schools Board of Education to order. I'd like to invite you to please stand if you're willing and able for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Right, item 3 this evening is the standing approval items. 3.1 is the acceptance of the agenda. Do I have any additions or deletions to tonight's agenda? Seeing none, the agenda is approved as presented. 3.2 this evening is approval of the minutes. May I have a motion? Trustee Van Heidsma.
Be it resolved that the Royal Oak Schools Board of Education approves the following minutes. I will defer to somebody else. I'm still.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. September 11th, 2025, regular minutes. September 11th, 2025, special minutes, finance and facilities.
All right, we have a motion by Trustee Van Heidsma with the assistance of Vice President Alexander. Do I have a second? Trustee Wiki. Is there any discussion on the motion before us? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. All opposed? Motion carried. Item 4 this evening is our proclamations. 4.1 tonight is a proclamation in honor of Principals Month, and I would like to ask Trustee Van Heidsma to present that.
Thank you. Whereas energetic and inspiring school leadership is essential to Michigan schools to prepare students for success, both during their pre-K-12 years and beyond, and whereas principals are entrusted with the educational development of young people and serve as educational visionaries, instructional leaders, assessment experts, community builders, facility managers, special program administrators, and guardians of various legal, contractual, and policy mandates and initiatives. And whereas principals set the academic tone for their schools and work collaboratively with teachers and parents to develop and implement a clear mission, high curriculum standards, and performance goals. And whereas principals play a vital role in the success of students by creating school environments that facilitate great teaching and learning, as well as continuous school improvement. And whereas much of the success of pre-K-12 students can be attributed to principals who act as the liaison between the school and the community it serves, ensuring that parents in the community are aware of student and school achievements. And whereas the celebration of Principals Month honors elementary, middle, and high school principals and recognizes the importance of school leadership in ensuring every child has access to a high-quality education. And whereas during this month, we join educators, parents, and students throughout Michigan to raise awareness of the importance of educational leadership and to recognize and thank the hardworking principals in Michigan schools who set exemplary standards of service. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Royal Oak Schools Board of Education hereby proclaims October 2025 as Principals Month in Royal Oak Schools.
Thank you. Do I have a second? Secretary Anderson. Is there any discussion on the resolution? Thanks. I'll call for a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The resolution has been adopted. Okay, 4.2 this evening is a board proclamation for Indigenous Peoples Day, and I'd like to ask Vice President Alexander to present that.
Whereas Indigenous Peoples Day is celebrated on the second Monday of October each year, it is a day to honor Indigenous American cultures and histories and to recognize the contributions of Indigenous communities. Whereas Indigenous Peoples Day was first proposed in Geneva in 1977 by a delegation of Native nations to the United Nations-sponsored International Conference on Discrimination Against Indigenous Populations in the Americas. Whereas the Royal Oak Schools Board recognizes Indigenous people have lived upon this land since time immemorial and values the progress our society has accomplished through the contributions of Indigenous people's culture and achievements. Whereas as a community that values diversity, equity, inclusion, and history, Royal Oak Schools will continue to acknowledge and celebrate Indigenous Peoples Day and recognize the original inhabitants of the Americas for their rich traditions, inventions, government, agriculture, astrology, sports, and medicine. And be it further resolved that all Royal Oak schools will actively engage in the collective responsibility to teach and affirm Indigenous people's culture, history, and community. Now, therefore, we, the Royal Oak Schools Board of Education, do hereby proclaim Monday, October 13th, 2025 as Indigenous Peoples Day for Royal Oak Schools.
We're thinking, do we have a second? Trustee Jazinski. Is there any discussion on the resolution? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The resolution is also adopted. Agenda item 5 this evening is public comment. If you would like to make a public comment, a person may address the board on an agenda or non-agenda item by completing a note card located inside the boardroom and place that card in the basket prior to citizen public comment period. Each speaker is limited to 3 minutes. If you need more time, you are offered a second opportunity to address the board at the end of the meeting with an additional 3 minutes. Please address the board as a whole and not individually. Public comment is not intended for the exchange of dialogue. This is a time for members of the public to express their views. We are paying attention to your comments and we appreciate them. However, school board members do not respond to public comment during the meeting. Questions that arise from public comment shall be referred to the superintendent or his designee for review, study, and a response. I'd like to thank everybody in advance for your cooperation. So far, we have one member of the audience who would care to speak to the board, and I'd like to call upon Aurora Yaneka.
Hello?
Hey, Aurora, come right up to that table there.
I don't have my phone on me. Okay, thank you. All right. I'm here to address what your own policy claims to be your top priority, providing a safe and nurturing educational environment for every student in this district. That policy explicitly states that bullying and abuse, whether verbal, physical, psychological, or emotional, is strictly prohibited. It also states that it is the responsibility of everyone in this district, from students to staff to board members, to set the example and refuse to tolerate such behavior. So here's my question to you. Where was that protection when a student in your care was being tormented in your classrooms? Let me be very clear. The student, who is autistic, had an IEP that offered no meaningful support beyond speech therapy and was systematically failed by this district. When the student began to struggle socially and emotionally, we begged for help. We were ignored. The IEP was closed. No additional resources were offered, even though the student continued to actively struggle at school. The teacher this year didn't even know she was autistic. Let that sink in. How is that acceptable? The student has been told to die, told that someone would come to their house and kill them. The student has been called ugly, fat, unwanted, stupid, and a loser. And yet, the student is the one who gets in trouble when defending themselves. Meanwhile, the bullies walk away untouched. We did everything the right way. We contacted staff, documented incidents, asked for help, and got nothing. It wasn't until I posted in a private Facebook group asking for alternative schooling options that families came forward, not to criticize us, but to say they had lived the same nightmare. Dozens of families with the same story, and it turns out Royal Oak has a reputation, a bad one. I went to Royal Oak schools, my friends went to Royal Oak schools, our siblings went to Royal Oak schools, and never, not once, would anything of this magnitude be tolerated. Not by students, not by teachers, not by administration. The culture was different, there was accountability, there was pride, there was a standard, and it meant nothing. Now, we're watching the standard crumble. Students are being bullied into silence, families are being forced to fight tooth and nail just to be heard, and this district is becoming known not for its excellence, but for how badly it fails the kids who need support the most. One district employee even contacted me anonymously to say they recognized the story I had shared in my Facebook post. I gave no indication factors. This child does not share my same last name. Then, after the community post gained attention, did the school finally reach out, but it came with a request to take the post down. Let me repeat that. Only after we went public did your school offer resources, and in the same breath you asked to silence ourselves. That's not support, it's damage control. I shouldn't have to make a viral post for a student to get the help they deserve. We shouldn't have to drag our pain into the public just to be heard. This is reactive, not proactive. According to the Child Welfare League of America, suicide is now the 8th leading cause of death among children ages 5 to 11 in this country. How many more kids have to become statistics before you act? You've told us what your policy says, now tell me this. What is your real call to action? What are you doing today, tomorrow, and every day after that to enforce the protections you claim exist? What are you doing to protect the most vulnerable students in your care from being humiliated, isolated, and destroyed in your classrooms? Because if this district continues to turn a blind eye, you are not just complicit, you are part of the problem. Do better.
Very thank you. Somebody from the superintendent's office or the district will reach out again to your family. Is there anybody else from the audience who wishes to address the board? So now move on to agenda item 6 this evening, which is recognitions, presentations, and reports. 6.1 tonight is the introduction of new staff. I'd like to turn this over to Mr. Wolinski.
Thank you, Mr. Jaworski. I personally will not be introducing all of our new staff. I've invited our principals here this evening for that purpose, but I will introduce them. Each month for probably the past 4 or 5 months, I've been giving you an increasingly lengthy personnel report of new hires because the months of May and through August, we hire year-round, but the months of May to August are really our busiest hiring season. We hired 39 new employees for the start of the school year. And I'll just give you a quick list of who those are. 16 teachers, 15 paraeducators, 1 media technician, 1 speech and language pathologist, 1 school social worker, 1 director of athletics and activities, 1 physical therapist, 1 benefits coordinator, 1 executive assistant, and 1 superintendent, who you've already met, so you won't be introduced. Still new. As we do every year, we pick a fall meeting to it's hard to get all of them here, obviously. Many of them are young parents, they have kids, they have athletic events they have to attend. But we try to get as many as we can here to put a face with a name, and always very nice to see and personally meet some of our new hires. I'd like to, and each year I never know what order to go in. So I'm gonna go in alphabetical order this year. I'm gonna start with Adams Elementary. I'm gonna ask Tim Boyer, principal of Adams, to come to the podium and introduce his new hires. If you would, just when he calls you up there, come up to the podium.
Yeah, thank you, Pat. Tim Boyer, principal at Adams Elementary School. Very honored to be here tonight to welcome some of our new staff members. I'm going to start with Danya Michuluti. She is a kindergarten teacher with us. What's fantastic about her is her 3 awesome children come to Adams. She's been a part of our community for a long time, and now having her as a teacher is a huge benefit for all of our students. So really happy about that. Danielle Mahar is our AST resource room teacher. She's helping out with our caseload. When I first started at Adams, she was a paraeducator in our self-contained room, and she was fantastic. We were sad to see her move on to the middle school, and then she went through that Grow Your Own, and just super excited to welcome her back to the building. We have a couple staff members who are not here. Jamie Epstein, a new kindergarten teacher, Kai Walker, a new paraeducator, and Laura Newell, a new paraeducator. All fantastic additions. So thank you.
Thank you. And next, I'd like to ask Ms. Truesdale, supervisor of our Early Childhood Center, Adams Early Childhood Center, to introduce her staff. Ms. Truesdale, will you make sure that microphone is on? Maybe it's that Mr. Boyer's so tall. Okay, it's just that Mr. Boyer's too tall.
He's just really tall and soft-spoken. Two problems I don't have. So I thank you for having us. Today we have Emily Seslicki, who is joining us in Royal Oak Schools for our GSRP program. So she's one of our new teachers. We also have a couple other new hires that weren't able to make it with us. We have Jasmine Harrington, who is a paraeducator who was hired, stepped into a role. She's been with the district for a few years as an EduStaff employee, as a support teacher. Now she's working as a paraeducator in one of our special education preschool rooms. We also have Jessica Wangman, who is a SLP, speech and language pathologist. I feel like I'm missing someone else. Oh, Rachel Forstat, yes, also someone who was a support teacher in one of our GSRP rooms, was now hired as a lead teacher in one of our GSRP rooms. So we're just rolling with the punches. So welcome, Emily. Thank you.
Thank you. And Ms. Bascom Keller, principal of Northwood Elementary.
Good evening. We've got several new Northwood employees I'm excited to introduce. We have Kaylee Minter, and Kaylee is our brand new media technician, shared between Northwood and also Oak Ridge. We have Chelsea Cleghorn. Chelsea is our new academic support teacher, which is resource room. She was hired at the end of the year last year, but I wanted her to have a chance to come and meet everybody. We have 4 wonderful new paraeducators. We have Kim Davis, Maya Miller, Christine Wheatley, and a 4th one, Crystal Kroskoff, who could not be here this evening. And then we also have a wonderful new addition to our DK classroom, developmental kindergarten, and that's Susie Legault. Susie is technically not new because she's from the ECC, but she's new to us, so I wanted to come introduce her for Northwood. So here is our wonderful staff. Thank you.
Thank you. And next, Dr. Parrott, principal of Oak Ridge Elementary.
Good evening. We have several new staff to welcome today. We have Kaylee Minter, as you just mentioned, from Media Tech from Northwood and Oak Ridge. She's a recent college grad, stepped into this role with a lot of excitement and enthusiasm. She said last week, she's like, I have a question for you. And she asked the question, she's like, by the way, I really love this job. So that was nice to hear. We have Letitia Scott, who is our ASD teacher. She's stepped in the role very, very nicely today, filling some big shoes in Kristen Gembis, which we really appreciate. She's done a great job working with our ASD students and her paras in the classroom. We have Anthony Cook, who is our new music teacher. He is shared with us and Keller, and he just started recently, came to us from Utah, I believe, from Michigan to Utah, back to Michigan. So we're really excited to have him back, and he's been doing a very nice job stepping in the role. And then we also have Julie Zapalowicz, who is a shared AST teacher between us and Oakland. And she's was a former paraeducator and has been doing a fabulous job since the beginning of the year. So that is the staff from Oak Ridge. Not joining us, we have paras Jessica Stanton, Dana Smith. There's one more I'm forgetting. I have notes I can look, actually. Oh, I'm sorry. And 3rd grade teacher, Emma Vrooman, and 4th grade teacher, Emily Patton. So that is the new Oak Ridge staff. Thank you very much.
Mr. Taylor, principal of Oakland Elementary. I know one of your new employees was just introduced, but you're up next.
And that's the only one.
You can reintroduce
so Julie,
her.
Stand up one more time. Super proud of Julie. She is, one thing, she's also a product of our Grow Your Own. Very proud of that, and that she's grown into her position as an AST teacher, running IEPs, seeing that side of it, the special education. So we're very excited to have her aboard.
Mr. Loomis, did we determine if some of your, Okay, Mr. Loomis, principal of Royal Oak High School.
Good evening. All right, so I have Sarah Daly here. For anyone who came, I said I needed some like fun facts to make sure that I shared with them. So not all fun facts, but so Sarah's one of our ELA teachers, and this is her 14th year in education. And the fun fact is she's visited 36, is that the right number? 36 countries. So I thought that was a fun fact. And she's got to jet pretty quick because she's got a 4.5-month-old at home. Yeah. So other people that were not able to make it tonight, we have Jamie Choike, who's med skills teacher. Trenton Zor, one of our academic support teachers. Trenton is also a product of our Grow Your Own program. Corey Stoner and Eris Barnett are paraeducators. And of course, you've all met Derek Smith, our director of athletics and activities. Thank you.
Just as a note, well, I probably don't need it that loud. Joe, can you turn my microphone down, please, sir? If anybody's should be low, mine. Derek is at 3 athletic events tonight, so he is present, just unable to be here.
Okay, next I'd like to introduce Mr. Griswack, principal of Upton Elementary.
I'll take that little applause. It's better than nothing. Fortunately, I have all 4 of our new staff members here, so easy for me to remember. I had a cheat sheet, but I don't need to use it because they're here. So first, Ben Ritz is one of our paraprofessionals who's done an amazing job with working with our students. As a paraeducator, I also have Jake Kendrick there, and both of them are very flexible, willing to help out wherever needed, support maybe lunchtime, support any classroom. Wherever they're asked, they go and they do it, no problem. They said, we'll do it. So thank you both for your support. We have Corey Steen, who was a student teacher with us last year at Upton with developmental kindergarten, but now Corey is one of our first grade teachers. So welcome, Corey. Glad to have you as full-time with us. And Danielle Mahar. She gave me the pirate sound, RR, so we can remember Mahar, but I told her I already knew that. But anyways, so she is with us too. Also Grow Your Own program, and we share her with us and Adam, so we're very fortunate to have her as well. And she's wonderful working with our students and really provides great support. So thank you. Thank all 4 of you for your help.
Okay, I came up here because I'm going to introduce our next new hire. Dr. Watson could not be here tonight, so I'm going to introduce Letitia Thweet, our new supervisor of secondary special education. Her first day with us was actually September 5th, so she wasn't there on opening day, and I don't think you were in the video, were you? No? Okay. So Letitia, just a little bit about her. She earned a bachelor's degree from Wayne State University. She earned her master's. Did I say that right? Yeah, her master's degree in special education from the University of the District of Columbia, her education specialist from Wayne State University. She is currently pursuing her doctorate in education from Wayne State University. She has 26 years of experience working in special education. Most recently is Director of Special Education for Total Solutions in Troy. I'm going to go with the fun facts. She is also a big fan of the iconic R&B group New Edition. Ronnie, Bobby, Ricky, and Mike, yeah. I believe that's everyone. Please tell me I'm not missing someone. That'd be embarrassing. No, we had no new staff to introduce for Royal Oak Middle School, and Dr. Parrott graciously introduced the one person that Keller and Oak Ridge share.
Tapping my computer to turn my microphone. Yeah. Go ahead, Trustee Van Heidsma.
Well, we read a proclamation, but since we have so many principals here, just a personal thank you for all you do, and I'm so glad you're here so we can congratulate you in person. You know, your work every day is so important to us and the students and the staff, as we see here today, and families. So thank you so much for everything that you do, and happy Principals Month.
Any other?
I don't think I clarified for them. You please don't feel necessary to stay for the whole meeting, but I did ask Jennifer Nipper if she would take a group photograph. Can we pause for just a moment to do that?
Yeah, absolutely. Are there any other comments from the board? No? Welcome to everybody. I'd like to thank everybody for their patience with our new staff photo. 6.2 this evening is diversity, equity, and inclusion, and I would like to turn this over to Ms. Phillips.
Good evening, everyone, and yes, I will lower this down for me. We have a few updates, and especially thank you to our principals and definitely our new teachers and staff. I was able to meet a lot of them, not only at our new teacher orientation, but when I did my September admin meetings, I asked to meet anyone who had been hired after the NTO day or just didn't attend for that one because of their role. So welcome to all of our new staff. We're going to talk about neurodiversity in education, some of our PL for that, and LGBTQ plus students project with MDE, Odysseys and Journeys with the IFLC, a couple of college expos and fairs, our System of Inequity series is about to start, and 2 summits that are coming up. So it's a lot that has happened and a lot that's on the realm of starting. So first, starting off with our neurodiversity in education series through Oakland Schools, Embracing Neurodiversity. We were able to meet with Matt Lowry for 3 hours the other day, and he kept us held and captivated the whole time. He's amazing. He's an autistic psychologist himself. So when he spoke from lived experiences, not just from him having autism, but his son as well. He took a great amount of time dismantling a lot of stereotypes, especially a lot that we see in the news nowadays, and gave us a lot of best strategies for supporting autistic students. We have our next session tomorrow, actually, so I'm excited about that, and a lot of our Royal Oak Schools employees attended that as well. Moving on to our MDE LGBTQ plus students project, we have had 2 sessions so far for this one, laying the foundation, and then when bias gets in the way. For these 2 sessions, we were able to talk about terminology, break up into different groups and do some terminology scrambles, and just talk about where we are in our careers and what we know as far as LGBTQ plus support. We were able to hear on both sessions about the students' perspectives and the best strategies to support our families and meeting them where they are. On to our Interfaith Leadership Council. We had, as I was mentioning at our last meeting, the first Odysseys session. It was amazing. We studied and talked a lot about Hinduism there, and not only were we able to do a culturally connected meal and a tour of the facility, which was absolutely beautiful, they had large posters all around in our meeting space, one of our meeting spaces rather, where we got to hear, read about some fun facts, read about mathematics, their traditions, the arts, and some of the spiritual paths, and we, during the end portion, got to actually participate in a mindfulness session doing yoga, a guided yoga session with one of the representatives there. The next Odyssey trip is December 4th, so please stay tuned for more information for that, which is going to be uploaded to the Detroit Interfaith Council website very soon. And just reminding us that the Interfaith Journey series as well is more geared towards our 7th graders. The Odysseys is for individuals and families as well. So speaking of journeys, we had our first journey today. We were able to go to Christ Church, Cranbrook. We were joined by 3 other districts, one a private school as well. I was so proud of our Bulldogs, so Roms Go, Bulldogs Go. We asked so many great questions that at one point in time, they had to tell us, okay, Royal Oak, you all have asked a lot. Can we have the other 3 schools chime in? So I'm so proud of them. They had really thoughtful questions too. We toured the facility. Of course, we were able to eat together with the other schools. They broke us into groups, and we mixed in with all of the other schools as well. After our lunch session and after all of the sessions with us learning about music and hearing the organ, seeing how it's played and getting a tutorial about different hymns and singing as well, we were able to really put to use that many hands make for light work. The students came together and did the service project where we were able to put in some hot hand warmers, hats, socks, and lotion and different things and sanitary items for the homeless that's going to be donated soon. So at the end, the students were able to give back right before our big group picture. So again, go Bulldogs Go, and keep up the great work. Not too long ago at Oakland Schools, we had our 2nd annual HBCU College Expo. For this year, I was able to serve in a few different capacities. I was there with our students. I was also able to represent as an alumna of the illustrious Hampton University, and I also got to do some recruiting myself. So just as I did last year, I took our open position sheet And so thank you to HR for that. They were able to provide a list of all of the current openings that we have. I gave my card and our district at a glance one-pager sheet as well, and told the schools, yes, we will, have our students come to you all, but we definitely want your former students and prospective grads as well to come back to get hired. So not only were there HBCUs around the country represented, but we had some local colleges there as well. So we're hoping to have some applications rolling in even more. That event was geared more towards the high schoolers. So I know last meeting I mentioned the Detroit Area Pre-College Engineering Program, otherwise known as DAPSEP. They have an event coming up similar to last month's College Expo, but this one is geared towards 7th through 12th graders. It's a free event. They are going to have over 30 colleges and HBCUs present. They'll be giving out lots of prizes, so it's lots of incentives to come beyond just finding out about the colleges, and there's going to be a workshop as well. So that's happening November 1st from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. at U of D Mercy in Detroit, and you can register right on dapsep.org. And I hope I mentioned it, but that event is free. Coming up as well, we have our third annual, I believe it may be second, Systems of Inequity series. This one is going to be based upon findings from the book, The Containment. It's going to take place throughout the year, but the first session will be held right here in this room, hosted by Royal Oak Schools on October 16th, and it's going to be themed Unmasking Educational Equity. So we're looking forward to hosting other districts here and finding out more about this series throughout the year. Okay, and a couple of summits that we have coming up. So I'm really excited about our November 4th, which is Election Day Wellness Summit. It's going to focus on staff wellness, self-management, self-care, burnout prevention, all for our staff. So we've anchored it with the 8 dimensions of wellness. So relax, relate, release, come together for a day of staff wellness. A lot of times our PDs are geared towards what we can do better in our classroom and with our students, but this will be really focusing on just the staff, and hopefully, just like with our trauma-informed practices, we will see that the return of investment, of course, is going to take place in the classroom and in our learning environments as well. But we're really excited about that. We are partnering with lots of people to make this happen. So I'm super excited that our keynote speaker will be Dr. Julie McDaniel Muldoon, who's actually coming to us from Oakland School. She's a safety and well-being consultant. Julie does a lot of work in restorative practices, so she's going to be bringing that to us and talking about how we can prioritize our needs. Harry Weaver will also be joining us, Harry Weaver III. He's the Chief Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Officer for the full county for Oakland County, and Dr. Amber Zarb, who is a mental health consultant for Oakland Schools. Beyond just the 3 that you see on the screen, there will be lots of our staff members teaching about their passions. So we're going to have some yoga, we're going to have some art, I'll be doing a music session, a couple of music sessions actually with our music coordinator. So it'll be a day filled with just pouring back into us and preserving ourselves. Last but not least, that week will be full with summits because we have our 2nd annual Justice, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Educator Summit. It's a partnership again with Oakland Schools, our JEDI Council, and Oakland University. It's going to be on November 6th, that Thursday. Our keynote speaker will be Greg Smith, who is the new superintendent for Lincoln Consolidated Schools, but we'll be joined with lots of practitioners around the state. We'll have Dr. J. Marks, who you all probably recognize from the picture as well, Dr. Chantel Yeski, and I believe someone else looks familiar on there, so I'll be presenting there as well about relationships. So we have a fun-filled fall that is definitely coming up, and I'm open to any questions.
Right, see no questions. Thank you so much, Ms.
Thank
Phillips.
you.
6.3 this evening is a presentation on curriculum data, and I would like to turn this over to Dr. Ioannis.
Thank you, Mr. Jaworski. I appreciate that. Just give me one moment to get this up on the screen.
While Dr. Giannis is doing that, this is something that I think is important for us to do periodically. We want to make sure that we're sharing data with the school board and with the community at large. We have a lot of data to be really proud of, but there's also going to be some areas for growth. I think if we're going to show data, we don't just want to highlight only the successes. I think we also need to highlight the areas in which we can do better. And so it's something that I believe in. Dr. Ioannis and Ms. Nipper have been doing a wonderful job with the curriculum team, looking at data. How can we increase rigor to our students? How can we make sure that our teachers have what they need? And it's really been a great journey for the first couple of months to look at all of the work that they have been doing, and then, you know, culminating in a presentation. We'd like to do this at least 3 times a year, so fall, winter, spring. And Joe will talk a little bit more about the fall and then give you a little preview of what winter and spring might look like.
Thank you, Dr. Tefelsky. We definitely appreciate the focus that we've put on looking at student data and achievement growth, student growth and achievement data. I do want to just highlight our strategic plan here. We do spend a lot of time making intentional connections from our strategic plan to the work that we're doing. And when we look at goal 1 and we take a closer look at students benefiting from timely and meaningful feedback, at bottom 2 there, and then students will demonstrate readiness for what is next in the learning continuum. So for me and for our team, we look at student achievement data and student growth data as a way to measure ourselves against those 2 strategies within that learning goal. What is the data saying about our students, and are they prepared for whatever is their next step in their lives? Dr. Tefelsky talked a little bit about this, but I can definitely highlight it. We're going to take a look at some state assessment testing. So the M-STEP, that's a Michigan Student Test of Educational Progress for grades 3 through 7, students in grades 3 through 7. We're going to focus on reading and math today, and then we're going to take a look at PSAT, reading and math achievement data for grades 8 through 10. As far as the PSAT, our students are taking it in 8th, 9th, and 10th grade. It's all a part of that preparation for the SAT that they take in 11th grade. And we're going to spend some time looking at the reading, writing, and math SAT scores for 11th grade. And then, like Dr. Tefelsky mentioned, we will do a little bit further information, provide a little further information in the winter regarding some individual schools, our individual schools, and some of the progress that we're making. A lot of our slides, all of our slides, are going to kind of follow the same theme that we have up here. We're going to first start to take a look at the M-STEP math percent proficient for students in grades 3 through 5. Now, the percent proficient component is made up of all the students that achieved the proficient and advanced level within the M-STEP testing category. And what you'll see from the graph, we have 2 years. We're highlighting the 2024 year and the 2025 year. Just as a reminder for anyone out there that's watching, these assessments are taken in the spring. So it was the spring of the 2024 year and then spring of the 2025 year. The other ways that we look at this data, we look at it from year to year as far as the progress that we make. And you can kind of see there an increase at 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade as far as the percent proficient across the board there, which is another thing to be proud about. We also take a look at cohort groups. What that means is, for example, students in 3rd grade in 2024 are also students in 4th grade in 2025, so the blue and green. So we call those cohort groups, and we do some monitoring throughout their time with us to kind of see the growth that they're making. So again, we'll see this similar theme. We wanted to stick with a math focus for the first few slides, so we're going to dive next into the 6th and 7th grade M-STEP percent proficient. Again, these are students that are achieving proficient and advanced scores on the M-STEP. And there's mixed feelings on the M-STEP. It's our state assessment. It's not nationally normed, but it is something that that's reported out on schools, so it's important that we pay attention to that. And as we go through the slides, we're going to talk a little bit about, you'll notice some positive things, you'll notice some things that we can work on. We like to call them areas of focus for things that we can develop, and then we definitely have some points of pride. And then we're going to talk about ELA. So this is going to be essentially reading and writing in grades 3 through 5. What you'll notice here as we look closely, although we see an increase from 50% to 54% and another increase in 5th grade, we do acknowledge that at times we are going to have a little bit of a dip. So you can see from the 4th grade year decreasing from 65 to 57 as far as from the 24 to 25 school year. Now, M-STEP is one type of measurement that we use to assess our students and to take a look at how our teachers are doing. So it's only one data point. And as educators, we like to look at multiple data points to help paint the entire picture of what's going on. But as Dr. Tefelsky has mentioned multiple times, all data is important. Even sometimes something that's looking like a negative point is something that we can turn into a positive and identify maybe why that area is a little bit lower than we'd like. And then if we look at our 6th and 7th grade students at ROMS, again, We're seeing increases from the percent proficient as far as the number of students that are becoming proficient, which is advanced or proficient status. And again, you can also look at the cohort groups, take a look at how our sixth graders did in 2024 as compared to how they did in the green bar on the 2025 year. Now we're going to talk a little bit about a PSAT. Again, as a reminder, our students are taking the PSAT in 8th, 9th, and 10th grade. And the focus of this PSAT is to get a better idea of our students' ability to prepare if they've met the college readiness benchmark. So within the PSAT exam, they have benchmarks that are put in place. And when students meet those benchmarks, it kind of shows that they have a 75% chance of having some success at the college level. And again, we do see an increase as students progress through high school. So this one, I will say right off the bat, we're going to begin to see some areas of what I would say a focus in math. But in talking to Dr. Tefelsky, he kind of reassured me that looking at PSAT and SAT percent proficient scores overall, that it might not be that uncommon. For this slide, you can see that we took a little bit of a decrease from 39 to 38% as far as overall percent proficient for students that met the college readiness benchmark. A pattern that you'll notice as we go through the remaining slides of positivity and points of pride is our reading scores potentially or essentially have increased as we go throughout these benchmark assessments that we'll look at. And then again, our students taking it in 9th grade, again, we see an increase in math, but still a lower percentage than what we would like. And we have some ideas, possibilities of what that might be or what the cause of that might be. We know a little bit more about the PSAT being a nationally normed assessment. So a little bit more validity is put into that since it's nationally normed, and we can use that information to compare ourselves to other districts and to other areas, just so that we have a better understanding of where our students are at when we're looking at a global.
So one of the things that we were talking about at the last late start, with the administration at the middle school was they were popping in the math PLC, and they were talking about the difference from an M-STEP test to a PSAT test and making sure that kids have the exposure to it more consistently, and that's something that they have done and they're doing more of. But like, on the M-STEP, they might ask you what the area of a room is, and on the PSAT, they might say, a gallon of paint can cover 800 square feet. This room is 30 by 40. How many times can 1 gallon of paint cover that room? It's literally the exact same standard, calculating the area, but it's taking it 1 or 2 steps further. And so the more we start to expose our kids to that, the better off we are. And I know that they're doing it at the middle school, they're doing it at the high school. Sometimes it's guided, and so teachers will give students, will kind of guide them along in like an I do, we do, you do sort of a thing. And so we're trying to get more of that release of responsibility to the student, because the first time they see one of those super difficult questions, or the first time they read that really thick and rich text from a nonfiction article or from a science article, it might be the PSAT or the SAT, and we want to make sure that that doesn't happen. And by embedding it into our things, it's less about test prep and more about ensuring that students have those college and career readiness standards along the way, no matter what they want to do after high school.
That's a great point. That's really a good example of how Dr. Tefelsky is trying to impact our instruction at the building level to help students get more exposure to that content so they're more appropriately prepared for those kind of assessments. And then this slide talks about or looks at our SAT 11th grade. Again, this is the number of students that met the college readiness benchmark. We do see an increase in both math and reading, but again, a focus area of focus for us would be to increase some of those math opportunities, and maybe that language and the instructional practices can help lift some of that up. Well, do you want to talk about this slide, Dr. Tefelsky?
Yeah, so I think this is a really important slide, I think, because again, fair or unfair, the SAT is the gatekeeper to colleges for our students, and we know that a majority of our students have aspirations to go to college, and so I think we have to ensure that we're serving those aspirations. Not everybody has to go to college, but I think that if we don't try to remove as many barriers as we can, then we're probably doing our students a disservice, and we need to talk to them about what their opportunities are. Again, you've heard me say 13th year success a lot. And so what does that mean for our high school students at CCHS and at ROHS? And so the more we can focus on ensuring that our students have college and career readiness, again, some of the things that you will see on the SAT does denote that you are ready for college, but it also says that you are ready for a career. When you talk about the last one that I did, if you own a painting company, you probably want to save as much money on paint and primer as you possibly can. And so it is a good assessment. As Dr. Ioannis said, it's a nationally normed assessment. And so the more we can prepare students for those college and career readiness standards, I think the better off that we're doing. This is not an uncommon data pattern for our students. You can see after 2020 and 2021, there's a significant drop, and then there's a pretty healthy bounce back to 2025. And the idea is that the trend would continue up from there. And I'm confident that we're going to be able to do that. I think that we have to do an excellent job as an administrators, giving the teachers the tools that they need to make sure that they feel prepared to do these things. And I think that's some of the work that we're going to be doing this year. And so I'm excited to see that growth, but I think we can do better, and I know we can do better, and I know we will be doing better. But I think that this is something that it's important for our community to see. We're doing really well. We can be doing better, and these are some areas that we're going to improve in.
Yeah.
Yep.
I just have a question about the PSAT. So we know these are nationally normed, but are they normed on the grade level?
Yep.
So is the ninth grade, is the 8th grade test the same as the 9th grade? Do you know what I'm saying? As far as
so
that's going, because
it's the 8-9 PSAT, and so
that's the reason I'm asking that is just, do we see a significant change when students get to take that algebra class, that geometry class? Because I think a lot of the students that are at 8th grade haven't had those classes yet, and so I'm just wondering if we...
Yeah, so those are some of the things that we're looking at. It was funny that that was exactly what we were talking about, because they have switched the way the SAT and the PSAT are assessing now. It's an adaptive test, and so the better you do, the harder the questions get. The worse you do, the easier the questions get. And so, Dan at the middle school was like, I had some kids who walked out and they were like, that math test was easy. And we were like, oh man, like maybe you should slow down and figure that out. But we were talking about giving students, the high school team reported that our kids do such a wonderful job with data analysis, problem solving. And that probably comes from the project-based learning at the middle school. Give me the name of it, Mr. Miner. Building Thinking Classrooms. What we are wondering, to your point, Treasurer Cook, is are our students at the middle school doing so well at that, but missing that foundational algebra, that they are hitting a ceiling because they miss some of those algebra questions, and then they never get the chance to demonstrate the data and analysis, which is more difficult, and typically in the paper version, those would be the last 5 questions on the assessment, right? The hardest questions, the most tiring questions, the longest questions. And so do we need to look at a way to make sure that more of our kids are accessing those fundamental algebra scores so that they can get above that bar, and then instead of hitting a ceiling, they have a floor, and then they can demonstrate their proficiency in data and analysis and problem solving. And I think that's super exciting. It's a really exciting way to think about things differently, and are we offering the right things? It's not that anything is going wrong. These are all great scores that we can be proud of. But to your point, how can we make sure that kids are ready and prepared? And if we determine that our students aren't doing as well in algebra on the PSAT in 8th grade, I would guess that that is the first part of the assessment, that foundational algebra. And so our kids are hitting that ceiling, and so they can't go any higher than whatever number you want to call it. So that's certainly something that we're looking into, and that will be one of the first things that, that's, probably the easiest change that we can make. Our kids are doing very well, and, we see the readiness that they have, and so saying that more of our students can access algebra earlier on is probably not a stretch.
Have we seen an across-the-board sort of degradation in data through the COVID years?
Yeah, so we're getting back to pre-COVID.
Okay.
So on the next couple, a few slides down, and we'll highlight that more when we go to individual schools, but more and more of our scores, the percent proficiency, especially in the elementary school, are returning to our pre-COVID levels. And, in some cases, in many cases, we learned a lot from COVID. And so, returning to some of those higher levels, actually, which is, it's wonderful to see.
I was going to wait till later for the question and answer period since we started, but to kind of go back to the fourth grade ELA where we had a little bit of a dip, is there something, I know, is there something that happens within fourth grade that could also account for that, that's not just represented in a graph?
We could say, like, they get a little bit more, the release of responsibility is a little bit greater once they go from third to fourth grade. A lot of our interventions are designed for that K-3 band, and so again, they lose some interventions, and then there's also this release of responsibility. And so that's one of the things that, we talk about constantly, like, we don't want to hear our fourth grade teachers say, like, gotta prepare you for middle school. Like, no, man, they got plenty of time. Like, make them really good fourth graders and then make them really good fifth graders, and the sixth grade teachers will do a wonderful job with them. And so making sure that we're not releasing too much responsibility before our students are ready for it. Because again, if you release responsibility and the interventions are gone, like, that can be a problem. And so they almost get like a double whammy there. And so that's one of the things. The other thing is, again, the test does get a little bit more difficult because those standards start to change to that 4th to 6th grade band instead of that K2, K3 band. And so, but really we should be, when you look at some of our peer districts, like, this was a down year for many of the districts. They went down as we look at them, but like, they went down 1 or 2 points. We went down 7 or 8. And so, like, what did we do a little bit differently? And so Dr. Ioannis has this up. This is something that we use internally. All of the board members have seen it. It's perfectly fine. It's all public data. It's not anything that we hide, and it's on Dr. Ioannis. When I started on like July 2nd, I was like, hey, here's a sheet. And he's like, where'd you get all this data from? I'm like, high school data. And so this is available to everybody. And I do not like the M-STEP particularly as an assessment. I do not like how they use the results. I don't like a lot of things about it. But when you are a parent and you go to My School Data, this is what you see right here. And so we picked a group of peers. And again, where we are at is not super important. It's important to look at those trends and see where we think we should be. Are we doing the work that we think that we need to be? We're not just going to concede that, a district that has a higher socioeconomic status is just like, oh, throw our hands up and like, there's nothing we can do. We can do a lot. I think that good teaching and learning can overcome a lot of things. And so this is just kind of to show the board and the public that, like, we want to compete and we want to win and we want to be better. And that means that our student output is going to match what our teacher and student input is. And that's really important to us because our teachers work really hard. We have wonderful teachers who do a wonderful job. We have students who learn. We have parents who care and who support. And so, like, how do we make sure that those outputs, which are our student scores or student achievement data, how do we make sure that that matches the input? And I think that by talking about it, by making it public, by showing people that, hey, we're focused on this, we're going to make sure that our instruction is aligned with our assessments. I think that's super important.
So that was perfectly summed up. Thank you, Dr. Tefelsky. I'll just say one last thing about the data and the renewed focus that we've put on it, thanks to Dr. Tefelsky's leadership, renewed focus on the instructional practices that we know are going to impact student outcomes. And like he said, we have wonderful teachers in place and we have wonderful students. So it's just nice that we're having this, again, focus and high-level discussion with our teachers and with our administrators regarding our achievement data, our student growth, and then how we can help our students gain and increase their abilities and outcomes. But that's it. That's our update or presentation.
One of the things I do want to note, a lot of times in districts that have multiple high schools like ours, the question is like, is that all the kids? It is all the kids. All kids means all kids. And so that is our CCHS kids, that is our ROHS kids, and that's very important to make sure that we are capturing data for all of our students that are here. We want to make sure that, again, anybody, no matter whether you're going to CCHS or ROHS, you are achieving the outcomes that you want to achieve. Yes.
I appreciate this rundown, and like you said, we've discussed that. But also, just to clarify, in general, across like the county averages, we're about midpoint.
Yeah, we're in the top half of the county.
Yeah.
So, and that's really important for us to know. Again, we are compared to our county peers. Mm-hmm. The sheet that you just saw was 12 districts that we picked by geography, single high school districts, and then also districts that we think families, if it's a young family looking to buy a house, they would consider those other 4 or 5 districts. And so we're right in the middle of those districts as well. We're 6th or 7th, depending on where you're at and what it is. And we think that we can kind of improve those outcomes year in and year out by taking a look at it. But yeah, in the county, I mean, we're in the top, we're solidly in that top half of districts.
That's what I thought. And like you said, you know, I appreciate Dr. Giannis and Dr. Tafelsky, the acknowledgement that like this data is not everything. And you know, yep. And we know that, but we also know that it's what the public sees. And I think that was a really sound explanation of what we've got to work on.
Any other comments or questions for Dr. Ioannis? Seeing none, thank you. 6.4 this evening is our student representative to the board update. I'm going to turn this over to Grace Hatton.
Hello, everyone. Oh, that's loud. I just have a few updates for you guys about what went on this past week at the high school. Last night we had the Future Fair at Berkeley High School, which is a collaboration between our school district, Clawson School District, and Berkeley School District, where colleges and career programs can come in and kind of give kids a tour of the school and what they should expect, and also allow students to ask questions for them. It's a really great opportunity just for students to kind of get acquainted with their opportunities, no matter what level you are at the high school, what year, whatever you want to major in, it's all going to be there for you to figure out. Next week, on Thursday, we're going to have parent-teacher conferences, meaning it's a half day for students. Last night, there was also a band concert where the band performed very well. And then
It was wonderful.
Yeah, it was great. And then lastly, your drama club is practicing hard for the fall musical, which will be Matilda, running from November 14th through November 16th. And that is all I have, unless there are any questions.
It's not a question, it's more of a statement. Normally, the band concerts are always followed by the orchestra concerts. So while I wasn't here for the band concert last night, I was here for 2 separate orchestra concerts. So, and they were good too.
Perfect.
Thank you, Grace. Item 7 tonight is communications, and I would like to turn this over to Secretary Anderson.
We have had a few since our last meeting. Carrie Harbar, Tori McIntosh, Teresa Penchoff, Jeanette Catchpole, Rebecca Cheesem, and Jacqueline Sivers.
Thank you. Item 8 tonight is our consent agenda. The consent agenda generally consists of routine matters as well as items we've covered during this meeting or another board meeting or committee meeting. All items are documented in the minutes, which are published following the meeting at which they were approved. All of our committee and board meetings are open to the public, and public comment is a agenda item on each agenda. We invite members of the public to join our committees. Tonight's consent agenda consists of payment of expenses. Are there any additions or deletions to the consent agenda this evening? Seeing none, the consent agenda is approved as presented. 9.1 tonight is the superintendent's report. Turn this over to Dr. Tafelsky.
We have a couple of items on the report today. One is a second reading of revised, replaced, and/or recommended policies and guidelines. And at the suggestion of one of our board contacts, actually, we are going to discuss them a little bit. People can go check the agenda online and see them more in detail, but this agenda item presents a second reading of proposed revisions to the existing policies governing the acceptance of gifts and favors by administration, PO 1130, professional staff, PO 3110, and support staff, PO 4110. The updated language refers the reference to a nominal value and provides broader guidance regarding the acceptance of any gifts or favors.
Thank you. No, I got it.
That's you.
Okay, with that explanation, may I have a motion for 9.1.1?
He actually had a comment more than just for clarification, you know, our policies can be found on the district website too.
Yes, they can.
So anybody in the public can access them and find them, so.
There's a search function. They're very easy to find. It's on the Board of Education page. It says district board policies, and they're like super easy to search through and find. You can look by keyword or anything, so.
Okay, thank you.
So, thank you. Then I have Treasurer Cook with a motion.
Resolved that the Royal Oak Schools Board of Education approves a second reading of the policies and administrative guidelines being revised, replaced, and/or recommended as presented.
Thank you. Do we have a second? Vice President Alexander. Is there any discussion on the motion before us? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is carried. 9.1.2, back to Dr. Tefelsky.
This is a recommendation to resurface the Royal Oak Middle School tennis court and an award contract. There are 4 courts at Royal Oak Middle School. The 2 that are side by side, hamburger, not hot dog, are in badly need of repair. And so this is going to resurface and repair them, but then add a sport court to the top that will be dual use, both tennis and pickleball.
Thank you. May I have a motion for 9.1.2? Trustee Wiki.
Is this that we're doing to the tennis courts similar to what we did to the tennis courts here at the high school?
So at the high school, those got full resurfacing. They were in better shape. Part of the issue at the middle school is they are in such bad shape that if we actually had to redo them, we would probably have to look at water retention issues and runoff and things like that. So this is a little bit of a opportunity for us to update them and make them usable right now for both school and community use. If we went the route of going asphalt or concrete, that would be significantly more expensive. And so that reminds me, Mr. Trustee Wiki, this is going to come out of our sinking fund, which is designated for building projects.
Go ahead.
We did talk about this last week at Facilities and Finance, and I believe it's like that waffle pattern?
Yeah, it's going to be a little bit nicer than that, but yeah, if you think about that waffle, it's you know, kind of easier on the knees a little bit. It's a nice like middle ground between a full resurface and, you know, kind of what we have right now.
And I think the pickleball courts will be very popular.
I think they will as well. And they're far enough away for our community members where it's not in somebody's backyard.
So with that, do we have a motion? Treasurer Cook.
Resolved that the Royal Oak Schools Board of Education authorizes the superintendent to finalize and sign a contract with Trist Creek Flooring in the amount of $120,000 for Royal Oak Middle School's tennis court resurfacing. Additionally, 10% for contingency.
Thank you. Do we have a second? Trustee Van Heidsma. Is there any discussion on the motion before us? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion is carried. Let's do 9.2 this evening, which is our curriculum and instruction update, and we'll turn this back to Dr. Ioannis.
Thank you, President Jaworski. So our focus, our insight into excellence for this month, the topic is our peer-to-peer program. And again, we try to again make intentional connections to our strategic plan, and we are committed, of course, to making creating impacted learning environments where all students are welcome, embraced, and accepted. And part of what the peer-to-peer program does is exactly that, helps provide opportunities for our students to feel embraced, welcomed, and accepted in Royal Oak schools.
The peer-to-peer program is a program where students of all different types can connect here at Adams. They can learn skills about how to be good friends, about how to handle tough times, tough communication, and just overall building those relationships for students with a wide variety of needs, students with autism, students with learning disabilities, students who might have attention difficulties, paired with students that are not helpers necessarily, but they're students that are overall friends. We want to build those natural friendships. So we try to connect students with common interests and coach them really through those times of how to become a good friend.
It's an opportunity to really foster those genuine relationships and to take these students together and put them in these opportunities, put them in these situations where they can have these really fun experiences where they can maybe bond over lunch or things like that. And our hope is that that will continue on outside of just our like controlled atmosphere here at Adams.
One of the main social emotional skills that I see students build is their idea of flexibility, being able to understand that someone might need something one day and then might need something different another day, or to know that just because someone says something in a frustrated tone doesn't mean that they're not your friend automatically. So I think building that, the understanding of belonging, and really having that be established is that belonging isn't just like, go help this person. It really is that true friendship of like, I'm going to bring you with me. I'm going to have these things. We're going to go together, and then build it beyond just the classroom scope and sequence of really bringing it into the playground setting, into after school settings and things like that.
And along with that, when you have that sense of belonging, it gives you the space to take risks in the classroom, I think, and maybe answer a question that maybe they didn't feel comfortable before, because they know they have a safe group of people with them. They know that it's a safe place to take that chance, to take that risk, essentially, to participate more in the classroom.
Last year, we just got asked to do peer-to-peer, for like helping Little, and we went on a lot of like trips with like a lot of people with special needs, and it was really fun. It was really fun, and we just had fun spending time with Lulu. I think a lot of benefits from peer-to-peer is like seeing what people look like on the inside and not just like the outside, and getting to know people for who they really are.
To like not like just like people with special needs, like not to like be like they're weird, because like they're just like regular people that just like are different.
I think it's like fun to help them, and like because sometimes it actually helps me, because if I don't know like what we're doing that well, it helps me explain it, and I think it just helps. They're just our friends. It's not like talking to a teacher. Yeah. It's just like someone in our class.
The peer-to-peer program at RHS is a little bit different than those at the elementary and middle school levels. It is a program focused on increasing social interactions, and it's really about fostering a sense of belonging for students, both with and without disabilities. And at the high school, how it looks is the first semester of the course, students are in the classroom with me, with like pretty traditional instruction focused on people with disabilities and how those disabilities may impact or influence a person's day-to-day life and experience. So really, though, it's about increasing the awareness of disabilities in general, and then with the goal of increasing their acceptance and then ultimately their belonging in life in general. Through participation in the LINKS program, students have developed not only a connection with the peer who is with them, but they allow both of the students, both with and without the disabilities, to connect with one another and really be part of the gen ed classroom in a meaningful way. By having a LINKS student in the class with a student who has a disability, that often gives the student another person to refer to in the classroom. So when there's work time, instead of always relying on the teacher, they can ask the LINK who's with them, just to promote the academic engagement skills that they otherwise may be missing or working on. But I think that having a LINK student in the classroom with them really is just an opportunity for more social connection and for them to build a relationship with someone who they may otherwise not have a class with.
So as you can see multiple times throughout that video, the word belonging came up. Again, that's a goal of ours here in Royal Oak Schools, to make sure that all of our students have a sense of belonging. Oops, thank you. Was your podcast next? Yeah. Should we just watch this?
We can.
All right. You may not have seen it or heard it, but But again, a sense of belonging is important for us. You see that with our staff, and we hope that all of our students feel that, and we will continue to work to make them all feel accepted, welcomed, and prepare them for whatever they have upcoming for their future. But that is all I have for our updates, unless there's any questions.
Seeing none, thank you, Dr. Ioannis. 9.3 this evening is staff and student services. I'll turn this over to Mr. Walensky.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Jaworski. I have a couple things for you tonight, as I always do. I'll talk about our personnel changes, and then I'll follow it up with an update on enrollment, since October 1st was the count date. A little more accurate picture of where we are. I'll start with the personnel changes for your approval. It's 10.9.25 on tonight's agenda. You'll see 1 resignation, 2 retirement notifications, and 10 recommendations for hire. And I'll just summarize those for you quickly. The 1 resignation actually comes from someone who's been on a parental leave of absence for the past 1.5 years, and she's just made the decision to stay at home full-time. That position was filled a 1.5 years ago. We did receive 2, I call them mid-year because the year's already started, retirement notifications. One from a paraeducator, Saban Dotson. Hasn't been with us a real long time, since October of 21, but she's going to retire effective Tuesday of next week. And Nancy Mayhew, a speech and language pathologist at Oak Ridge Elementary, who has been with us quite a long time, since 2003, so 22 years. And Nancy is going to retire at the end of December. Also listed are 10 recommendations for hire. 8 of them being paraeducators, which is good news. As you know, we struggle to fill those positions. 1 resource room teacher for Adams Elementary and 1 preschool teacher for Adams Early Childhood Center. So we've been successful attracting, hiring, especially paraeducators, which is a challenge. Part of our strategic plan, as you know, real simple goal, to attract and retain the best staff. I think we're doing a good job of attracting them. We got to work hard at retaining them, and we've talked about that as an administrative team collectively. What efforts are we putting in place to make sure our paraeducators, teachers, all of our new employees feel supported, have the supports in place that they need to not only be successful here, but to be happy here and want to stay. That is item, what did I say, 10.9.25, unless you have any questions about the report. Yes, Ms. Van Heidsma.
So we hired quite a few paraeducators. Do we still have open positions for paraeducators?
We do. I believe I shouldn't give a number. We do have vacancies still for paraeducators, yes. It's less than 6.
I know, like last year, we did a hiring fair type of thing where we had, on-site people could come and they were interviewed and all that. Is there any thought to doing that? Is there any benefit to doing that?
We haven't discussed it recently. We had modest success, but yeah, we can talk about doing that again as well. I don't think we're going to need to. I think we have some people in line for interviews where soon I'm hopeful we're going to be fully staffed.
Not on the personnel report per se, but do we still have a wait list for our elementaries for before or after school, or has that been resolved with our new program?
We still have a wait list. They anticipate that they will be once they start. So they're targeting that December 1st date is where they're targeting. They believe they might be able to get in here a little early, perhaps that Thanksgiving week. And as of right now, their plan is to fully staff, including the wait list. And so we should have the wait list fully staffed and additional space for others who would like to join before and after care. So they're working through that now, though.
Any other questions for Mr. Walensky? Trustee Van Heidsma.
I assume he's still going to do a count day thing. I didn't know if we distracted him, sorry.
I will, yeah. I was going to wait for you to approve the personnel report.
So let's look for a motion for 9.3.1. Vice President Alexander.
Resolved, the Royal Oak Schools Board of Education approves the regular personnel changes as presented in the board packet.
Thank you. Do we have a second? Trustee Jazinski. Is there any questions or further comments on the motion before us? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion's carried.
Okay, I'll share with you an enrollment update. I want to talk a little bit about October 1st. It's not the magic date. It's just the date the state uses to figure out how many students exactly we have enrolled. If a student is absent on that date, it's not as though we don't get funding for them. It's okay. Plenty of students are absent on count day. If they're excused absent, they have 30 days to return to school and be counted for funding. If it's so we like to get everybody who's absent on that day an excuse from their parents. Why was your child not at school today? If they're unexcused, we only have 10 days. But if they're enrolled and going to be attending Royal Oak schools, we typically capture them. Teresa Bauman is our new this year enrollment coordinator, and pupil accountant. So she's a little hesitant when I give numbers because she says a head count, a person in a seat, doesn't always equate to a full-time equivalency, which is what our funding is based on. We do have a fair number of students who are less than full-time. We have students that are virtual and they're not a full FTE, not a lot, but some, and it does affect our total. Those virtual students have to have two-way communication with their teacher that has to be verified. So there's plenty of things that have to be cleaned up before we know exactly what our full-time equivalency count is, which is what our funding is based on. I will say, though, that we appear to be up this year. Not as much as I originally suspected, but if you just go by head count district-wide, and I can give you a breakdown in a Friday report by grade level in school, it appears right now we're up 57 just bodies and seats. As of today, we're able to count 4,784 students for either a full or part of an FTE. And last fall, our student head count was 4,727. So a lot of cleanup yet that has to be done, but it does appear our numbers will be up a bit. And as I said, I've been saying all along when we were absent idea of how much funding we'd receive from the state, it's always based on the number of students. So an increase in enrollment will equate to an increase in funding from the state, which is always needed. Any questions about enrollment?
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't really want to put anybody on the spot, but I do wonder if we could have just a brief statement or discussion of the state budget that we heard about last week.
So I was going to speak about that during board comments, but now is as good a time as any. So the state budget was approved. One of the things that was a hot topic prior to its approval was universal breakfast and lunch. That has been maintained for at least one more year, and so that will continue through September 30th of 2026, which is good news for us. There are several other increases that were made very public, and it's wonderful. The per pupil funding, I think we are going to see an increase of about $420 per pupil, which is great. The downside to that is some of the categorical grants, which I've talked about before. There's like 31A, 31A, 147A, 147B, 98C, like all of these grants, they've all been kind of allocated and redone, and some of them are gone. 35A4, which was one of Dr. Ioannis and Ms. Nipper's favorite, has been removed. That was $50,000 or $60,000 for us, and so like while we see $400 a kid, when you lose a handful of grants at $50,000 or $60,000, one of them was a kind of a backfill for retirement and healthcare that amounted to almost $500,000 for us that we are no longer receiving. And so generally it was good news for Royal Oak Schools. We're very happy with it. There are a few things. Actually, I was with one of our insurance advisors today from SETSEG. There's a new certification, for lack of a better term, if you take 31AA funds for mental health supports. which is, I think, in the new budget, and Joe, you might know, I think it's gonna be a couple $100,000. In order for us to take it, we have to certify that if there is a mass casualty event, we are essentially waiving rights and allowing for a full and complete investigation. By this, we don't know, we think the state, yeah. Yeah, so, the hard part is our insurance company is like, hold on a second, like, we need to figure out what we have to do, and we don't necessarily want a third party to come in and investigate. Because if the state found a different outcome than the insurance company did, that affects payouts and things like that. And so, everybody is kind of pausing on what 31AA means. So we're going to continue to listen to our attorneys and kind of let the data shake out, or the numbers shake out from the finance folks and people at the MDE. But like I said, generally good news. There are some things like that where, like, if we were advised we would immediately lose our insurance coverage, we probably wouldn't accept $200,000, and then our state budget is a flat budget from last year. So, stay tuned. But again, hopeful, good news. You'd rather have an increase of $400 than a decrease of $400, and so that's always good. But there's like anything else, and my favorite word this fall is nuance. There's nuance to the increase in state budgets. But we are happy to report that, generally mental health and safety funds are up, and universal breakfast and lunch has continued. And so we are going to keep our kids fed and safe and warm, and I think that's great. Some of the other stuff is TBD, but we're going to continue to really do well with our students.
Thank you. Brings us to agenda item 10 tonight, which is the second opportunity for public comment. Anybody from the audience who wishes to speak to the board? Seeing none, brings us to item 11 tonight, which is board comments and liaison reports. We had our first Tuesday round robin committee meeting extravaganza this week.
I kind of loved it. I don't know how everybody else felt. I thought it was like fun. There were like people all around. You're running into each other. What meeting are you going to? Oh my God, I haven't seen you in so long. Anyway.
It was exactly like that. Right, we'll just go down the table with the committees that met on Tuesday, starting with communications with Vice President Alexander giving that report.
Thank you. The Communications Committee met. We had an opportunity to review the resumes of the candidates who have been selected for interviews for the communications supervisor position. We also reviewed and discussed with the committee the job description of the committee supervisor, or the communications supervisor. And we talked about what has worked really well in our district. We want to ensure that this new candidate is to continue. We also talked about opportunities for growth, things that we could do differently, new opportunities. So we had a really robust discussion in regards to that. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe that the first interviews were this morning.
And we have any questions for Vice President Alexander? Yeah, move on to arts and preservation with Secretary Anderson.
Well, first, happy birthday, Trustee Alexander. Yes, very happy returns. I was going to say we met Tuesday, but everybody met Tuesday. So, board members, Tim and Michelle and I, and we were joined by a student board representative, Aiden, yes, who brought just like fresh energy, fresh ideas and enthusiasm. Really happy. It'd be great if we could get more students interested in joining our committees because he was dynamic. Topics covered were the murals replicas out on the wall outside the boardroom, the lintel from Longfellow that's currently outside the pool lobby at Roms, and we just mentioned that 2027 will be a big year for the Roms building. It'll be 100 years old that year, and we did talk about that as well briefly. We were joined After, I don't know how many meetings Dr. Tefalski was in, he was able to join us at the end of this meeting.
Any questions about arts and preservation? Trustee Jasinski.
Are we considering moving that lintel? Is that the name?
We weren't, but
Oh.
we did, there was an idea about where it might be more appropriate, but that is to TBD.
Okay,
Yes,
that was the
yes.
discussion. Okay, great, cool.
When we say it's outside at Rom's.
It's outside the pool lobby.
Is it installed or in the bushes or? Okay.
It's like there's some dirt piled up behind it and and then it's beautiful. If you get a chance to go over there, it's outside where the pool lobby goes around and the ivy's creeping around it. It is beautiful.
With our curriculum committee report, I will ask for Treasurer Cook to make that report.
So that was my first committee meeting of the evening. I also was at Arts and Preservation. And we had a presentation about the K through 12 literacy and dyslexia law and how our district will be preparing for the implementation of the requirements of that law. And so this year is a learning year, next year will be a planning year, and the year following will be the implementation year. And this law is about improving literacy outcomes for all. And some of the things that the district will be undertaking is making sure that we have an appropriate screener. Some of these things have not been outlined by the state as yet. We think that we have something in place that will be the screener that will be allowed, but we do not know as of yet. Same with curriculum, and we have, of course, a brand new literacy curriculum for K through 5 that we believe will be very good for carrying out these, the things that this law is looking to improve. And I think, some of the other things is, of course, having more PD related to identifying characteristics of dyslexia. And so those are all things that we discussed in the committee meeting.
Great. Any questions about the curriculum committee? So now we'll move on to board comments. Who wants to go first? Trustee Van Heitzma.
Didn't cut anybody off. A couple things. Just a reminder, plugging the Royal Oak Youth Assistance Bowl-a-thon coming up on Sunday, November 16th. Please visit their website for more information. Looking for sponsors, looking for bowlers. Key thing. Form a team, be competitive, and have some fun, and help the youth assistants. Also, just a budget comment, and I think I've been seeing a lot of buzz. So this year was a really tough year, and I think we still want to encourage people to reach out to legislatures to just say, we can't let this happen again. And so I think that's really important to keep pushing that messaging about this is not okay.
Yeah, this was, it was 3 months late. It was inadequate. To Treasurer Cook's point, all of these things that are coming down the pipeline, this is great, but are they going to say that your new test is the widget test and it's going to be an unfunded mandate? Are they going to say your curriculum you just spent 7 figures on is no longer acceptable and you have to buy this new curriculum, but we're not going to fund that either? And so I think the more pressure that we continue to put on our legislators, and again, nonpartisan, whoever you are, whatever side of the aisle you're on and whoever represents you, I think it's important that you say schools need to come first.
Yeah, absolutely. So it impacts a lot of people, and so it's really important. And thank you.
Trustee Jasinski.
While the budget was all of the legislative news last week, on October 1st, a new state law called Safe Homes, Safe Schools also took effect, which had been passed during lame duck, but started. And so what that entails is that it's basically a supplementary law to the state's secure storage law that asks all school districts to communicate to families about the state's new secure storage law, which states that if you live in a home or are visiting a home where you are relatively certain there are going to be children under 18, you have to have firearms stored separate from ammunition in an approved storage container, locked and away from young people being able to access them. So we as a district already do an excellent job communicating that information, giving parents and families access to safe storage options. All of our school offices have locks for handguns available for free to anyone, no questions asked, which I'm very, very proud of. But in the event that you see a little bit more attention on that issue, in the coming weeks in principal newsletters and our website and things like that, it's because that law did just take effect and we're just making extra sure that we're in compliance.
We did also get a bit of an updated letter from our legal counsel, and so we were talking about ways to get that out. That might be an addendum in or a link in principal's website to, or a link in principal's updates to the website that would have the letter that we sent out and then also the updated letter. So we can talk with the safety committee or at a later time, or if the board wants to weigh in, like, should we resend this letter home, which is extremely similar to the first one. We believe that our first one does comply with the law, but there is an updated one. And so we're going to clean that up a little bit, but thank you for that.
Anybody else?
I have a few things. Is that okay? Sorry. As was mentioned previously, band was excellent last night. We saw between me and Mr. Wiki, we saw all of the band performances and orchestra performances, and they were fantastic. And as he was coming, I was leaving, and I went to the soccer game that was at Berkeley High School. The Royal Oak Ravens won 1-0. Secretary Alexander, 1-0. It was a very exciting game. About 2 minutes left in the game, we scored, and so it was awesome. Our next game will be at Seaholm High School Monday at 5 v. the Troy Colts. And so that's exciting. I would encourage everybody to come out. Like, the energy in the crowd was unbelievable. There were so many kids there. It was a whiteout. So everybody was wearing white. They had signs. They were, the Berkeley kids and the Royal Oak kids were fantastic and funny and giving each other grief, and it was awesome. Everybody was safe. Royal Oak was happy. And so it was a great night for us. I was enjoying the game right on the 50-yard line with Mr. Francis, the Berkeley superintendent, and so we had quite a good time giving each other our own version of grief. So just as a reminder, we are working with the City of Royal Oak on Safe Routes to Schools. There's a volunteer event this weekend on Saturday at 1 p.m. For Safe Routes to Schools. There are going to be some walking routes that are given out. We have some students that are participating as volunteers. We would like more students to participate as volunteers, but we have a handful of groups that are participating. And essentially, you're going to get a one-pager, and you're going to walk around a neighborhood and say, like, are the sidewalks okay? Are they free of obstruction? Is there stop signs? Things like that. And so it's a great opportunity. I did it with Commissioner Cheesem, and we had a really good time when we did the one block. And so, again, Safe Routes to Schools Saturday at the Salter Center at 1 p.m. to help the city and the schools. And then one more thing that was like kind of fun that we did this week, we have cabinet meetings every week where it's me, Dr. Yonis, Mr. Walensky, and Miss Abella. We moved them, and so we're going to go to schools and have a cabinet meeting once a month at a different school, which I love. Like, I think one of my priorities has been being out and about. I think it has not gone unnoticed by people. And so when Dr. Yonis came up with the idea, he's like, hey, why do we have cabinet meetings here every single week? I'm like, yeah, you're right. And so we moved them. And so the first one was at the ECC, and it was great. Miss Abella brought Cooper, our therapy dog, and he was a hit. I don't know that he enjoyed being a hit with the tiny hands pawing and crawling all over him. And One kid was like, he won't lick my hand. And Kathy was like, he's not supposed to. And she was like shoving her hand in Cooper's mouth. It was wonderful. Fun was had by all except for poor Cooper. So we have our November meeting at ROMS, and we're looking forward to that. And so it is kind of funny, though, because we did that, and everybody was like, why are all four of you here at once? And we're just going to be out and about. And then the next day, I don't want to announce it, but we had a teacher nominated for Teacher of the Year, and we'll save that for a later date. And so we had to go sign the paperwork. And we were in my office, and I was like, hey, let's all go together. And so we went to Keller, and we went to the middle school, and everybody's like, why are you all walking around? What's going on? I'm like, not a big deal at all. Yeah, are we in trouble? Everybody's nervous. There's no reason to be in trouble. Excuse me, there's no reason to be nervous unless you're in trouble.
Trustee Van Heitzma.
One more thing. So October is our first student lunch with the board. So that's Friday, October 24th. And we'll be there for A, B, and C lunches. So just a reminder, if you're watching and your student is a student at the high school, please encourage them. Dr. Tefelsky's pretty open there, so all questions will be taken, and, we're there to listen, right? So the whole point of that is, yes, Mr.
There is a sign-up sheet, right?
Yes.
And you'll remind those who signed up that they signed up.
We don't do that, but they sign up pretty late, so.
I'm talking about board members.
Oh.
I think,
Yeah, I don't know about
Yes.
Wiki would like a reminder.
I need a
Sorry.
reminder.
Okay,
Yeah, thank
yes,
you.
yes, Mr. Wiki, there will be a reminder for the board members who
Thank
have
you.
signed up for that.
One last thing I was just reminded, we do have a podcast in Royal Oak Schools. If you haven't heard me talk enough, you can hear me talk more. My mom says I talk too much. But thank you to the dozens of listeners out there. This week is with Miss Johnson. She is our elementary music coordinator, and we took questions from students. We did not know what they were ahead of time, and so we had to answer them on the spot. They were awesome. It was a lot of music-themed questions. I'm not musically inclined, and so it was awesome to try to think about these different things. So it's great. Shaking the Tree, available on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. I love New Edition.
Just provide a quick update today. We did interview 6 candidates for the communication supervisor position. And regardless of who is chosen out of that group, we are going to be in great hands. I can guarantee that to everybody. And it looks like we have a lot of treats left in the back of the room. Since the new staff is gone, we're going to call this the Vice President Alexander birthday party. Hey. So please join us after the meeting and help eat some of that food. Happy birthday, Erica. Any other business before this board tonight? Seeing none, we are adjourned.